when Tim was speaking about the Israelites, I saw Mount Sinai, and was trying to position myself at the bottom of it, ready to listen instead of falling back in fear and not willing to go forward towards the mountain. And immediately when I saw myself there, it changed into a man. It almost looked like a native. And he walked up to the mountain and he began to chisel away at the mountain. And as he was chiseling away at the mountain, at the base of it, it just sort of fall away, and out of the bottom of it came a table. It was a banqueting table, and it sort of pulled out forward, and it was a long table that pulled out forward, made of stone. And then underneath it, sort of the side began to fill up, sort of come forward and fill up with chairs along the sides of it. And then after this, sort of above the table, looking down on it, it began to open up like the waters that they went through to escape from the Egyptians. The Red Sea opened up in the middle of the table. You could see the Red Sea. The table began to take form of the Red Sea just in the middle of the table, of the long table. And it opened up and you could walk through. And that was the first thing that came about. The second thing that came about was at the head of the table, I could see sort of down the position I could see was sort of, if I had crouched down and was looking at the table, that makes sense, the tabletop. After the table of stone made the Red Sea, the table was now a wooden table. And in the middle, in the same exact spot, the table, it lifted and sort of dug into the wood, and it lifted out a chasm. And this chasm was now there instead of the sea. And the chasm was places, I've seen this place before in other visions. It was like a reddish rock area. But it was definitely like a chasm you could see down in the middle of it on the ground floor. And that was the second thing that it became. And then after that rocky place that the wood sort of dug out, the third thing that happened in the middle of this table was a tapestry began to. Can you hear me okay now? It cut out.
A tapestry, talking about the third, something about tapestry.
Yeah. So this tapestry was being woven, and it had these really, really fine strings. And as you pulled, and it was pulling together at the seat at the head chair there. It was all pulling, all the strings were pulling together precisely and perfectly the way that they were meant to. But it was all very, very fine and many strings. And as you pulled perfectly, it began to sort of come together in these beautiful colors. But you could see that a cross was formed there as the tapestry was being pulled. And then the next thing I saw was, if I'm sitting in the seat at this long table, if I'm sitting in the seat of the Lord, like the head, to the right, it'd be at the. I'm not sure where it cut off at. I'm sorry.
You said the Lord's the head, the right.
The table. behind the chairs there was a little small beast. And he was small and round. He barely was the size of the chair, but he was a little beast. He reminded me a little bit of maybe a warthog mixed with some sort of like ape or something. He just was a little beast. And he had arrows. He had arrows that he was shooting straight up into the sky. And I think the position he was taking was so that when they came down and landed on this tapestry, they would pierce through it. But when the arrows, they came down, when they came down, some of them came down in the middle of the cross. What you want me to do there?
You might want to get closer to the mic. That might help. So you said their arrow heading for the cross, the center of the cross. That's where it's at.
Yeah, and when the arrows went down, they penetrated the cross, but just the teeny tiny tip of the cross part. There was about 5 or so that hit that spot and went through and penetrated. Didn't go through, but just penetrated, barely sticking straight up into it, barely going through. And then you could see that towards the bottom of the cross, that it was woven so tight that the arrows just bounced off of the tapestry and were unable to even stick or penetrate at all. And at this point, Jesus had been in his seat at the head, and you could see that he was sort of touching and tightening the bottom part and making sure he would grab the strings and sort of push up to make sure that it was really tight at the bottom. And at that point, he took scissors to it and he cut off the strings at the bottom so that was finished. The tapestry was done. There was no more pulling. It was done. It was the way that it was meant to be. And then he took his right hand and he laid it on the table, and you could see sort of his hand where he had been pierced. And in his hand was a light that was sort of just hovering above his hand. And that was the end of the vision.
Mm. Wow. Bless the Lord. You're talking about I don't know what the tapestry means. It's got to be a garment on the banner. I don't, on the standard. But either way, it's representing God's people. I think actually means us. So God is amending things that are meant to be immune to the accuser. The accuser's brother shooting arrows, the darts arrows. So bless the Lord, bless the Lord. I particularly think it's interesting on this table. It's hitting the mountain, the bottom of the mountain, inside the mountain. That is very interesting. Then Red Sea, desert path, all those I think we're going through. I think actually this word prophetic is in terms of our season. I think the last portion you see the Lord's work unfolding before us in our midst. I don't think that is necessarily pertaining to merely a small group like ours, but I think that is a foretaste or foreshadowing the things yet to come for the body of Christ, so especially concerning the Sun Company. Now, how many chairs around the table?
I didn't see. It was a very long table.
Very long.
There was just more than 6 or 7, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
On each side, it was a lot, more than maybe 10.
I think about the bro gave me the number called 12 before you shared the cross. I think about what is inside on the tapestry. He said it's a cross, so it's very interesting because it breaking it out a little bit so I can see things, might describe things. So that's interesting.